Greetings and welcome back, gentles and ladiesmen, to another exciting episode of Unversed Cast. I'm Paradigm Gamer.
I'm Haycox.
I'm King K.
And I am Ryan from the Ryan Sucks at Video Games.
And I'm Alec Elger, the SideQuest gamer. Oh wait, I'm not on this podcast.
King
So we've got
K-Cock.
I don't think that's how you spell it. I think it's with a C.
You never know. It's just the KKK, you know?
Oh my god. Why is that relevant recently? Because, like, I've seen the KKK mentioned in, like, several things I've just seen around the internet lately, so I'm just wondering, what has Trump done this time?
I hope they aren't relevant. I haven't heard them in a while.
Yeah, same here.
I hope they aren't, like, as active as they were.
But then again, I don't actively look up that kind of stuff. Like, if I see something like that trending on Twitter, I just kind of ignore it. It's like, oh, yeah, that's
Is
a thing.
the KKK still active? You get, like, a Yahoo Answers.
Oh my god. Okay, so we have a very special topic for you today, gentles and ladiesmen. There was a Nintendo Direct recently talking about a certain Pokemon announcement. But before we get into that, is there any relevant other gaming news other than Pokemon going on that you guys have seen floating around that we should maybe address? Now for impressions on.
There's always a bunch of NX rumors, but those are all fake.
Yeah, Metroid Prime 4 was confirmed for the NX. My dad, who works at Nintendo, said so.
It's actually your uncle.
Oh my god, my father's my uncle.
Yeah, get it right, Ryan.
My father's my uncle. What am I going to do? Ow.
Well, no, hold on. Wasn't that a plot point in Crash to Insanity?
I wouldn't know. I haven't played it.
Wait
Anyways.
Your dad is your uncle? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, where it's just like...
Are you talking about
like
Cortex and Nina?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I think so, actually. Although it was more of a reference to they wanted to make Cortex her father, but they made it his niece instead. I think,
Okay.
But I guess plot-wise, technically, he's confused by it, so he's both at the same time.
Now, wasn't there actually some kind of Crash rumor going around?
Oh yeah, that's right.
I heard about something like that on Twitter, where there's
Sony just tweeted out a new render of Crash and
Did they?
just said, get excited.
Oh,
Did they?
Yeah. It's on their, like, Sony Mid-East page.
Wait.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that
I think
existed.
Haydox retweeted that, and that's how I saw that. But yeah, that's interesting. Maybe it's like they're making a PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale 2.
Hey, I'd be down for that.
Got all the negative feedback from people saying, like, why isn't Crash in this game? So they're just like, okay, we'll put Crash in the new game. Maybe that's what's going on.
you
That'd be
think-
more underwhelming than having a new game, but it'd still be cool because he'd be back.
It's some sort of acknowledgement towards, the franchise. And, coming from a Golden Sun fan, I'd rather take some sort of acknowledgement that the franchise exists as opposed to nothing at all.
Well, I mean, wasn't Isaac in Smash as an assist trophy?
In Brawl, in Smash 4, he's not in the game at all.
That's funny.
No, actually, it's not. it's sad.
Poor Golden Sun. There will never be a fourth game.
Shut up, Michael.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
He
it's
sounded
fine.
like
Klonoa
Jeff
has the same fate, so whatever. I feel you there.
What would you guys think about having some sort of new Crash title, and what would you want out of it?
Well, didn't the other Crash games suck after the PS1 ones?
Oh, it's very subjective.
Yeah. It's kind of like Sonic, where... Well, with Wrath of Cortex, it was basically just like the third one, except the level design wasn't as good and it wasn't finished.
Yeah. I know
Then
that...
Twin Sanity, I've never played, but it sounds like they made it more open world.
I know the Velcro Gamer likes it, no? That's the
Twin
Xbox
Sanity
one,
is
right?
my favorite Crash game, actually. So
Twin Sanity?
I mean, I have to play
Yeah.
them again to probably fully assess them, but I know for Spyro, like, in the Legend of Spyro games after the original ones aren't that great. So
Well, you didn't even like the GBA game, so
I mean,
poo on you.
Spoiler alert, first of all, EPG. Because, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I like them. Attack of the Rhinox was okay. Wasn't the best.
No, I'm not well versed in
but,
Crash, so I can't really say anything. Haven't played any of the games yet.
I mean, it really.
Yeah.
I think it would just when it went to the weird Titan games, Titans,
Yeah.
whatever those were called. I never
Wrath
played
of the
those, but
Titans.
those were received very poorly. So I think that was the definitive point where he kind of just fell off the face of the earth, and they never used him again.
Yeah.
Because like you have your complaints
And-
about people can have their complaints about Wrath of Cortex and Twin Sanity or whatever. I thought they were okay. I really liked Twin Sanity personally.
Yeah, Wrath
like
of
the
Cortex.
direction that-
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but Wrath of Cortex
No.
seems pretty good.
Yeah, I like the direction that Twin Sanity went, but clearly Titans is where people have their issues.
So what was the last Crash game?
It was one of the Titan ones,
They-
right?
I think it was
It
like
was
Mind
this-
Over Mutant.
Yeah,
or
Mind
Wrath
Over
of the
Mutant. I
Titans.
think it was called. It was like
That
a
was
sequel
for
to
the
Wrath
Wii,
of the
right?
Titans.
Something like that.
I think it was multi-platform.
Oh.
Point is, there hasn't been a Crash game in a long while, and I'm gonna take a wild guess that Mind Over Mutant and Wrath of the Titans didn't sell super well. So I think there may be a chance that Sony bought him up with the intention of maybe rebooting him, because like
I mean, I'd like that, honestly.
I
wouldn't mind that either.
I would like this reboot to be dark and gritty and edgy, and
Shadow
have
the Hedgehog.
Yeah, it starts out with like we never did find out what happened to Tana Bandicoot, and so that'll be how the reboot will start out with Dr. Cortex slitting Tana's throat.
Oh, no.
Oh,
And then Dixie Kong, I mean Coco Bandicoot, will come in and save Crash before he gets killed next.
I mean, that was a very subtle slam to Crash Bandicoot there.
Crash Bandicoot is a fine trilogy of platforming games for the PlayStation 1, but I'd be lying if I said I liked it as much as most people, you know? I
I
don't
have to
see why it
replay
shouldn't
them.
get a reboot, though. That would
Yeah.
be nice.
I have to replay them before I give, like, a definitive opinion, because I haven't played them since I was maybe 6. But, I'm planning on doing a whole retrospective on Crash in the summer, probably.
okay.
I think if your Spyro marathon has taught you anything, Haydox, that you probably shouldn't plan
I
anything beyond
know.
just the first 3 games.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Well, the thing is,
you've-
I've already played all the Kingdom Hearts games, so it's not that bad, I guess.
Well, that's an undertaking.
That's
yeah,
a lot
I've
of
played them all
RPGs.
3 times. Every game. And it's not fun after a while.
yeah. But you know what I would honestly like to see a lot more than a Crash game is a new Spyro game
Hell
that
yeah.
actually feels like a Spyro game, you know, not that Hero's Tale shit.
No, I like a Hero's Tale. You take that back.
I haven't even touched it yet.
Oh, it's so good, man. No,
Watch the
EPG
Zebras
hates a
play
Hero's
this.
Tale, but I love it. I love it, man.
I mean, it
The
looks.
most exposure I've had to Spyro is like a quarter of this third game, and that's about it. So, I mean, it'd be probably cool for people who like Spyro, but until I play it, I don't know.
Yeah, I played the
See, I
first
think
game.
the first game is one of my favorites in the Spyro trilogy.
Yeah, the first
I
game isn't
think
bad.
my favorite one is the third one. The first one is my second favorite. And then Spyro 2 is probably my least favorite.
Yeah.
But it's not like by a huge margin or anything, you know. Still a pretty good game. But I'd like to see that because we're starting to see collectathons come back in fashion with Hat in Time and
Ukulele.
Ukulele. So I'd honestly much rather see a new traditional Spyro game than I would a Crash game, but that's just me, you know.
Yeah.
Crash was way more popular back in the day. Well, not way more, but definitely more popular.
No, we're talking about Crash. We're talking about Spyro, but we should be talking about the one platforming mascot that matters, and that is our Lord and Savior, Bubsy.
Sonic.
We need a Bubsy reboot, and it's going to be dark and edgy and gritty, and everyone's going to love it. Bubsy 4D. There you go.
Who does anybody?
What could possibly go wrong?
Who owns Bubsy? Because somebody has to still own Bubsy.
Yeah, didn't he get re-released on
God.
Steam?
He did.
God
he
owns
did.
Bubsy.
It has positive reviews on Steam because they're like, it's
Oh
a
my
faithful.
God, why
It
would you
has positive reviews because the reviews say it's a faithful port because it is a faithful port.
So it's a shitty game, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
They didn't fix any of the problems.
but
Yeah.
it's faithful port still. So
Does that include Bubsy 3D?
I don't know.
No,
I think it was just the two.
It's only the first two.
Yeah.
Oh, so no fractured furry tails for the Atari Jaguar Reno.
Nope.
I'm sure
So-
I'm sure people could mod that to perfection. Am I right? I'm sure that's fixable.
It would be.
There's
Oh, go ahead.
going back to the NX rumors, unless if Ryan had something we wanted to really say.
I was just saying it would be interesting if they gave Bubsy another shot. I mean, I don't know how many people would take it seriously, but it would be something very interesting to see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, going back to the NX rumors, it just feels like at this point, like I'm getting kind of sick of them, and I just wish they'd announce the damn thing already. You know?
I mean, they're not going to announce it not at E3. They can't. And
What
the
was that
rumors aren't
since?
Nintendo's
I don't
fault.
even-
They're other people's fault who think they're
yeah,
entitled.
I know that's absolutely true, but it's just I'm sick of seeing people making obviously fake console art and then posting on Twitter just like, look at how funny I am because I made up this fake console.
Look at this
Hey,
DVD
just like-
player that's totally the new NX, right?
Yeah. And it's just like I don't know. It's going to be a long road to E3, but at the same time, it's just like, you know, I still don't see why the Wii U wasn't good enough
because it
tech-wise.
sold like absolute garbage and is still selling like absolute garbage.
And they didn't
Yeah,
market
but I
it.
don't even really understand why, because the PS4 and Xbox One still don't have any games
I
on
mean,
them.
at least the Vita's selling worse, right?
Yeah, that's true, but I think
the reason why-
the Wii U sold as much as the Game Gear.
Well, no, the reason why the Wii U failed is very simple. Number one, when it launched, it didn't have any games, so people didn't buy it. And number two, what the PS4 has going for it is it's like the definitive console if you can't get a PC. Whereas Nintendo didn't go after third party and didn't go after that market, which is far more popular as, like, I don't know, as disheartening as that may sound. The sports game market is huge. So people buy like an Xbox
blows
One or a
my fucking
PS4
mind.
just to play the FIFA games with their friends, have a nice beer.
That's so stupid. You
I mean,
can
I
get the
can
same
attest to that.
fucking
I have-
game on an Xbox 360.
I have a cousin who does that. So.
Yeah. See, people
That
don't
is-
think like that though. They just they get whatever console is cheapest with the best graphics with the newest FIFA game, and they get it.
Well, that's not
And that's-
just it, though, because the thing is with the
That's-
Wii U is that, you know, to add on to what you were saying, I have two more things. One, they didn't advertise it very good, if at all. And also because the name is the Wii U. People
Yeah,
thought
they
it was...
really should have ditched the Wii brand.
Yeah, people thought it was just some kind of add-on to the Wii. And I remember, like, 2013, there was a Black Friday Target ad that specifically stated that the Wii U was just the gamepad and it goes with your Wii. It was some kind of Black Friday ad or something like that. I'm like, no.
Wow,
I mean, back when the
that's
Wii U
really
came
bad.
out, I didn't use the internet all that much, so I thought it was just an add-on.
Yeah,
So-
same. See,
I didn't buy it for a while.
You can't name your system something like the Wii U. You have to, like...
But you can
the
name
3D
something. It's something like the Super Nintendo.
However, no. Listen, my friend. So the difference with that, like the 3DS and the Super Nintendo, why it works is because there's a new letter or name in front of it as opposed to behind it, or in like at the end, if you know what I mean. Like if you saw the NES 2 versus the SNES, then you wouldn't like. As a consumer, you'd be like, I just don't understand. Or the NES S. SNES is better because it's before. Same deal with like the 3DS, the DS, and that's pretty much it.
The DSi or the DS Lite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that
Oh my god, if they called it the DS3, that would be so confusing.
I guess the thing is too, what you could say to counter that would be that the PS4 and Xbox One do the same thing. But I guess it's
Yeah, there's no confusion about whether the Xbox One is the original Xbox or not.
maybe it's just that it wasn't marketed that well, and the Wii.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that that's exactly what it was.
Yeah,
Or at
That's
least
what I
that
think
was
it
the.
was.
it was not
because-
marketed as well. No third-party support.
They did try though. They did
Yeah,
try.
they
They
did
did.
try. Like, that was a focus of the E3 where they announced it. They were just like, oh yeah, look at all these third-party developers we're talking to right now.
Yeah, and look at how many
It's
of them
just-
didn't publish anything on our console
Well, I mean, the Wii U is expensive to develop for
because of the gamepad.
so people would be developing at a loss. So it's not that great,
Yeah.
from my understanding.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what they do with the NX. And honestly, I'd be fine with them just calling it the Nintendo NX.
That
What
sounds
do you
cool.
guys think? Because
No.
like, I think that sounds pretty distinct from the Wii and the Wii U, and it just kind of sounds cool. It's plain enough, you know. It fits with like the other consoles, like the 3DS and the DS. You have your NX.
I would say
think
not
it'll
the
work fine.
Nintendo NX because I don't know that it doesn't roll off the tongue. If they just market it as the NX, it sounds like way edgier and cooler. You're like, dude, you hear about the NX? But you don't want people saying like, dude, did you hear about that Nintendo NX? You get what I'm saying? It's not as edgy.
Yeah.
Well, technically, Nintendo comes
hopefully-
before like any console name.
That's true. Very true.
Yeah, so people could still just call it the NX. You
People
know?
still call it the Wii U or the Wii or the GameCube. You know, they don't say the Nintendo GameCube or the Nintendo
I
Wii.
say the Nintendo GameCube.
Why the hell are the initials for GameCube GCN?
Because
I've never
North
been able to
America.
figure
because
that out.
and I think it's either here in America or somewhere else. There is an actual company called GNC or NGC. I don't remember where it is.
GCN also sounds better.
I don't remember where it was, but it's some kind of copyright thing. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I mean,
I think
it
that
does
pretty
sound good because if you think about it, the PlayStation is called the PlayStation. It sounds very strange when you actually sit and think about that. I mean, like, it's a common term now because we just say like, "Hey, it's the PlayStation 4," but it's like PlayStation. It's just a weird word, so NX fits.
I
I
think
mean, these are very strange names to begin with.
I think the NX should be called the GameCube 2 to avoid any and all confusion. And they should just make another GameCube. If Nintendo wants to be good, that's all they have to do is just make another GameCube.
That's not true. That I know you're joking.
Yeah.
But let me say why that is a bad idea. Number one, the GameCube failed markedly. Like it didn't sell that well for Nintendo, right?
right.
See, what I think is gonna happen, and this is just me, because now Nintendo is on this cycle of like one console sells really, really well, but then the next one sort of tanks. And I think they're gonna go up, and the NX will sell like a gazillion copies. Hardware sales, units.
units.
Well,
Yeah.
There you go.
how good did the N64 sell? Because I heard it was like it wasn't that great.
It wasn't nearly as good as PlayStation,
Yeah.
but
I feel like
it's
the
still
Wii-
better than GameCube.
I feel like the Wii was an exception,
Yeah,
though.
the Wii was
I don't
like
know if it necessarily you can predict that the NX will be the same way. I know that's just you,
Yeah.
but like, because I think the Wii was just some odd like stroke of luck because not a lot of, I say core gamers, but you know what I mean. Like a lot of family-minded people bought
Grandmothers.
There's a lot of casual gamers
Well,
buying
I don't
Wiis.
think it was luck at all. I think they definitely knew what they were doing. And
you-
that's pretty...
and you
Well,
want to know what a part of it
they
was?
debuted.
What?
They marketed the hell out of the Wii.
it. They did.
The Wii
yeah.
had
Well, they
damn good marketing.
They marketed it as a family thing, too.
Yeah.
That was like their main selling point.
I think it's also because it
and
was
now
like this
that-
new motion control fad
Yeah.
that took on.
Yeah, exactly.
But now that's
And
really
I think
old.
that, I think that now that maybe part of the problem was, and I'm not trying to defame a dead man or anything, but Iwata had a very
How dare you
Interesting.
criticize Iwata? How dare
Iwata had
you?
a very interesting perspective on business, and I feel that now that Tatsumi Kimishima is the new president, and he always handled more of the business stuff anyway.
Well, for now, anyways.
That maybe we'll see better marketing for this new console, and we'll see something that, because like I do appreciate that Iwata tried to experiment more and try to do new things and try to make something fun and original, but you know, after a while the gimmicks started to get pretty silly and underwhelming. Like the touchscreen on the Wii U, it's cool, and I like being able to play games on my controller, you know, but it's not. It just feels like we need to come up with some new idea for this console. So let's just put a screen on the controller and call it good, you know. And it's just like,
I think if it was
I don't
marketed
feel like that
better,
impresses gamers anymore, you know.
I think, well, if it was marketed better and there was a compelling, interesting game that capitalized on that feature, I think it would have been more beneficial.
Yeah, I think we're gonna maybe see that with Star Fox Zero and Zelda.
Not Star Fox U, not Star Fox Zero.
You know, what's wrong with that game all of a sudden?
From what I've played, just with the gamepad, like, I mean, I'm not saying that it's bad, but I'm saying it doesn't utilize the gamepad as well as you might think. It's pretty
I thought
standard.
What you do, I thought you could aim your lasers with the gyro controls.
Yeah, but that's not, like, it's not that revolutionary since you could do the same thing in Star Fox 3D.
Yeah, I
Like-
suppose.
And you can kind of, I don't know, doesn't the PS4 controller have a gyrosphere sensor thing?
I don't own one.
I know the PS3 controller does. I don't know about the PS4.
Yeah, the 6-axis.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it has a similar type of thing, yeah. Because I have one.
Yeah.
I just don't know if a lot of games
so we can bring
utilize
back
it.
the ball rolling puzzle from Ratchet and Clank Future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
That was so great. Or King K's favorite weapon, the tornado launcher.
Don't you
thing.
even dare. That weapon's so stupid.
So what are you guys'
but,
thoughts
yeah.
about it? Like, I don't know if it was confirmed or not, but this whole handheld console hybrid,
No, that's just a rumor.
that is just a rumor? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that something you guys would want to see? Just out of curiosity?
It sounds really interesting.
I don't see it being feasible.
Yeah,
I
me
don't
either.
think it's a good business choice, because if they were to do that, they would have to downgrade their hardware, and
Yeah.
they'd also have, like, the games looking worse than the PS4 does or something, and that's not good if you want to market a new console.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I heard some kind of again, it was just a rumor, but I heard some kind of I heard something that said that the NX was going to come out this year, and it was going to be the handheld portion or the handheld part of the console, and then in 2017, that's when they're going to release the home console version of the NX, and you can play both games either on the go or at home or however you want to do it. I mean,
Does anyone here have a PlayStation TV?
I do
Yes.
not.
No.
I do.
Nobody does?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
So have you experimented with the Vita
Yeah.
functionality?
What do you
So
mean?
does it-
What do you mean by that?
So the PlayStation TV, from what I understand, is basically a PlayStation Vita that can stream PS3 games to your TV and can also download Vita and PSP games and play them on a TV as well.
yeah.
And you know, like, I'm considering getting one for down the line if I ever do review Vita games or something. But from what I understand, the actual Vita system has a 500p screen, and then if you play the games on the PlayStation TV, it'll upscale the graphics to 720p or 1080i
Yeah.
and make the games look better.
They don't look
So is
that
that-
better, honestly.
So does it actually render it in that new resolution, or does it just stretch the image to that size?
I think it is rendered in that resolution, because it's definitely not stretched.
Okay. All right, then, because like I'm trying to think of, because like if this was a handheld console hybrid, and if it was sort of like the PSTV, where like if you play it on the handheld, the resolution is just lower, but then like you can play the games in like 1080p on your actual TV. Maybe that's how it could work. Maybe.
Seems
That's
like
the
it'd be
only real.
really hard to pull that off.
Yeah, and again, I don't really see the point of it because the 3DS is kind of the lifeblood for Nintendo right now. And if they make their console and handheld like the same console, they run the risk of, if this fails, then they basically cannibalize both of their markets.
Right.
They've also said that like the NX won't is a weird thing that they've said, but the NX won't like make the Wii U and 3DS obsolete, which
Which is what they
I
said
don't know
about
how
the
they're
Wii.
gonna
with
pull
the-
that off.
They said the same thing with the Wii and the GameCube, or excuse me, the DS and the GBA. And the D.
So does that mean backward compatibility?
I don't know.
I mean,
If so, they would need a gamepad. That's the thing.
or just have the
Yeah.
gamepad be compatible with the Wii U, like a compatible
'cause,
controller.
Like, after all, the Wii U is compatible with Wii remotes, so
That
it's
would
not
work, yeah.
entirely infeasible.
But would Wii remotes
I
be
just
compatible
want-
with the NX?
what I want from... Oh, sorry to interrupt.
Oh yeah, you're good.
But what I want from the NX is just a standard console in which developers can develop games easily that is objectively better in terms of specs than the PS4 in order to make that like as a big marketing point, and then be able to not have limitations put on developers and such as they are with the Wii U.
Same here, and
Just make it easy to develop for.
for that matter,
I feel like they could dominate because they have, I think by far they have the most first party support. So if they dominate with like a superior like graphical powerhouse or whatever, I don't ever see this happening. I don't know if because I think Nintendo loves their gimmicks
I
or
think
whatever.
that now that Iwata is gone, that's more of a possibility.
Yeah, but if it's like a graphical powerhouse and it's competitive with the PS4 and Xbox One or the next gen equivalents, then they have by far the most first party support. And if they can sway the third parties, then all of a sudden it's a lot more appealing to buy Nintendo consoles.
see, but here's
Yeah.
here's the thing though, is that Nintendo. I hear people say the same thing about Sega, but like the reason why Sega was so good back then during the Super Nintendo and Genesis days was because they were competing against Nintendo, so they had to have great games out there. And I'm not saying Nintendo doesn't have great games on their consoles, because they do, but if Nintendo competes with Sony and Microsoft, they would have to up their game up to 11 and crank out. We can't just get like 3 Mario games a year and not have a Metroid game for an entire generation. No, we're going to need to see.
Make a new Metroid game and make it not as shitty as Metroid Other M. Thank you
We're
very
gonna
much.
Don't
start-
you say that about Other M.
We're going to need to start seeing
dare.
more IPs, either IPs that they haven't used for God knows how long, or to start cranking out new IPs that appeal to gamers.
Like Splatoon, the worst game of all time.
Don't you dare to say that to me. You know I get triggered very easily.
you triggered me just now.
Yeah. Anyways, so I think that that's all fine and dandy too, but what they need to fill in those gaps with the games are third-party
Yes.
support and other things. Like not just indie games, but big third-party studios supporting exclusively them, like Rare did in the N64 days.
Well, they were
'Cause
more of a
believe it
second
or
party,
not, a
weren't
lot
they?
of people bought an N64 for a lot of Rare games, like Diddy Kong Racing and Banjo-Kazooie.
But wasn't Rare more of a second party developer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're-
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They did buy a stake in Rare.
It was still something that wasn't just like Nintendo developing for their own system, Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, they could have. Oh, gee, I don't know. They're a certain second developer or second party developer.
Golden Sun HD.
that makes sports games, but also makes RPGs. They could make another Golden Sun, and that would be great.
Ryan and
Do
his
they have?
Golden Sun.
Isn't Monolith Soft like a second party developer?
I think so. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep, they are owned by Nintendo.
Monolith Soft is owned by Nintendo.
Yep.
Oh.
They were a co-developer for Skyward Sword.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I did not know
Like, I
that.
think it was Nintendo, EAD, and Monolith Soft both worked on the game. So,
That's really cool.
Well,
Yeah.
That's
I think
interesting.
that we should probably move on to our feature presentation here, because we are about, I think, half an hour into this.
Does that mean the Fourth Reich?
Yes,
yeah.
our great Fuhrer, Captain Haydox here, is going to lead us and make America great again.
Oh, do you mean by make Pokemon great and not a stagnant series again?
Yeah, and I think that transitions
Ayo.
us to our main topic.
Pokemon.
Is,
Sonic Boom.
Pokemon.
Sonic Boom.
yeah, Sonic Boom indeed. But so, anyone want to sum up the direct that happened
I'll
recently?
do it. I want to do it. So,
Okay, you sum.
Nintendo, they started circle jerking a lot, and like all of their Pokemon juice like spread over the community when they said, "Hey guys, we're making something called a Pokemon Direct to celebrate 20 years of having, pretty okay games." So they're actually pretty good. I'm sorry, but no, they got a Direct. They opened it up, and this Japanese man appeared on a Game Boy, and during that scene, he said, "Hello, everyone. Today, we are talking about Pokemon." And then he did, and then he kind of did, but then he showed a trailer that was like 2 minutes of filler, like poor people playing Pokemon, from what I gather, and just random people off the streets. And so then he did that, but then it was like, oh, counting down the games, and then 2016, Sun and Moon, no gameplay, and then it's like some screenshots and a logo, and then they're like, this is going to be holiday 2016, which means November 21st, or like the Friday before Black Friday is usually what it is, or the first Friday in October, traditionally. So they did that, and then that was basically it for all revolutionary news.
And in related news, in 2025, Nintendo will be remaking Pokemon Sun and Moon for the Nintendo 7DS.
Yeah.
And under the titles Pokemon Golden Sun and Silver Moon.
Oh, I knew you'd go there.
Was that your own original dank meme?
That it was. And speaking of which, that was the best part of this direct. It was just the memes that came up. It's just like,
Oh yeah, I
so
love memes.
the games got leaked before the direct
Yeah.
happened, and basically people just edited their own stuff in it. And like even the Archie Comics Twitter made one that's just like Pokemon Betty and Pokemon Veronica version. It's just like so many memes, and they were all great.
I made
I
one.
want to say
love
they were all
those.
great. A lot of them were stolen.
I made one that took me like it only took me like a minute to make in Photoshop, and people are still like retweeting it. It's like, guys,
one?
I need to see it again.
stop,
I
spare
gotta go
my
to your
phone.
Twitter now.
Like, like when I posted it, just it was nonstop, 20 minutes of my phone just vibrating, saying, "You got a Twitter notification." It's like it wasn't that funny.
Oh yeah, Pokemon Sun, Pokemon Harvest Moon.
Yeah.
I don't even. I can't find it.
Yeah, but so what do we know about the gameplay for this presumably 7th generation so far?
It
Jack
exists.
shit.
Well, no, we
Jack
know
shit.
2 things. One is the game is not completed yet. It's still in early development, obviously.
But they're going to release it in 10 months.
Yeah.
They had trucks in their concept art. There were lots of trucks.
Yeah, that's always a good sign. Well, because they showed no gameplay, it's either one, to build up hype when leaks of new Pokemon start coming in, so that'll be cool when that happens. And then number 2, they aren't finished with the game. They're using the same engine as X and Y and Auras, so it shouldn't take that long.
Okay.
I heard something about it being in a tropical setting, like a South American kind of thing. But that was just
That would
rumors.
be different.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
They might be saving it for E3. That's one thing I
yeah.
heard.
That's possible. One thing I did hear is that I think from Josh Call or Geek Critique was that apparently if you get the virtual console versions of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow, on your 3DS, then somehow you'll be able to transfer your Pokemon from Gen 1 to Gen 7.
Yeah, with Pokebank.
Yeah, you put them in the Pokemon Bank, and then you can transfer them to Gen 7. That was also in the Direct, but that was like right after, hey, Sun and Moon, no gameplay, but here, you have your Pokemon boxes, and you can transfer from Gen 1 to Gen 7.
And you know something, like, that kind of, it irritates me when people do that, where it's like, oh, hey, we're making a Direct, here's 2 minutes, 3 minutes of fluff, and, oh yeah, we're making a game, by the way, okay, bye. It's like, you don't even show any footage.
Like, I think it would have been better if it wasn't leaked.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if there was an
Yeah.
expectation of gameplay until it was leaked. It was like, oh, well, now once it was leaked, if all they showed was just the logos, then it wouldn't have been anything new. So I think the expectation to have gameplay was a little bit too much.
No, I'm not even saying, don't have game. I'm saying something, like some kind of teaser or something.
That is true, yeah.
They
know?
did have some teaser a little bit.
They had some concept art, but it's like...
The bird. Can't forget the bird.
I mean, they must have a
Wireframe.
reason for not showing it. Maybe they don't have anything competent. That's kind of scary, but
that's kind of weird because, the last technical, main series Pokemon game that we had was Omega Ruby, which came out in 2014. You had a year to come up with something at this point.
They were also kind of working on porting Yellow, which takes a lot, trust me. And
That is
especially
true.
because they had to put in Pokemon Bank support and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
and trading between.
and then Pokken 2 that they're working on.
Now, is it Game Freak that's working on that, or is it the...
It's a combination of Game
oh,
Freak
okay.
and something else.
Probably the guys who
know.
make Tekken.
Yeah.
Call it a hunch.
Yeah, well,
What would we like to see in this game, though? Like, what kind of features would we want to see return from other games, or what kind of new features do you guys want to see? If you're even interested in Pokemon Sun and Moon.
See, I would want like a Pokemon MMO, but that's not gonna happen.
that would actually be pretty cool.
Yeah. Kind of like
I've wanted
Wizard
that for a long
101.
It's gift wrapped for it.
Yeah.
I don't know
Now
why.
that you mention it, I really don't understand why that isn't a thing yet.
The MMO market it's very, very competitive, and it's very hard to make it anywhere. So I would assume that's why. It takes a lot of money to start up, and it takes a lot of money to continue. They
But
might
I mean,
be able
it's
to pull it
Pokemon,
off.
so I mean, a lot of people would instantly be attracted to it, I would think.
Yeah, that is true. It would be interesting to see how it would work. I just don't think they're ready to risk that kind of an investment.
And there are Pokemon MMOs out there, but they're fan made, and some of them aren't too bad.
No, I played the fan-made ones, and it just makes me want a real Pokemon MMO because
Yeah.
it sounds so cool. I just don't think they will do that.
Yeah.
Or some kind
I
of
mean, with the
uh,
NX, they maybe could, because doesn't the PS4 have a Final Fantasy game that's
Final
online all
Fantasy
the time?
14.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
also the PS3 has that too.
So it's definitely plausible for them to do.
Yeah, I'd be down for it.
So I think someone has to be the villain here.
Oh,
Someone
really?
has to be the naysayer. And
Okay.
I guess it might as well be me. Like Haydock said, I think Pokemon is stagnant. I don't think it's been interesting for like 5 years or so.
Did you
I
play
think-
X and Y? Sorry to interrupt.
I did
but-
play X and Y. I played, I think, all of the main series ones except the original versions of Gen 1 and Gen 2. And I started with Gen 3. Then I played Gen 4. Then I played Gen 5, and it was okay. And then I didn't play Black and White 2. I only played Black and White 1. Then I played X and Y, and it was very, because like there's nothing wrong with it, and each game is, technically better than the last one, but it's just like once you played one Pokemon game, you really played them all. And it's just like they can add all the new Pokemon they want. It's still the same thing because like every sequel to any game ever is technically the same thing over and over again. But with Pokemon, it just felt like it wore out its welcome after just a few generations, at least for me.
Yeah, I get that.
Like it can. It's so it's like I hear about Pokemon Moon, Sun and Pokemon Moon, and it's just like they've made 6 main RPGs at this point. And it's just like, how are they going to make going to 8 towns and going to 8 gyms and then fighting the Elite Four and capturing a bunch of legendaries interesting again?
Make
We've seen
Pokemon
this all
great
before.
again.
Yeah. We need to go resurrect our Führer, Adolf Hitler, to make Pokemon great again.
I mean, I would then ask.
Oh man,
what-
what I was about to say. Oh no, never mind. Okay, carry on. I was gonna say
You were
we
gonna
should
make a Holocaust joke,
resurrect
weren't you?
Iwata. He
Oh
can
dear
make
God, no!
he can make Pokemon great again.
You triggered me just now.
Sorry.
You know, I
I
honestly.
mean, you'd then.
Oh, go ahead, Kincaid.
I was just gonna say you'd then have like, if you do think that Pokemon is stagnant, like what would you propose? I'm talking to EXO, but maybe anyone else can answer. What would you propose they do to make it different enough?
You know what I think would help?
I mean,
I'm sorry.
sure, Ryan.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, EXO, but I think character creation can go a long way.
Yeah.
It,
X and Y had that.
it had character customization, not necessarily character creation. Like you pick between 3 default models and that's about it. And then when you get to the main city of X and Y, you know, then you can like change your hair and all that kind of stuff. I'm saying if you can do all of that kind of stuff from the get-go, and I'm talking about like change your height, you know, maybe even change your age, because you're always like a 10-year-old or a 13-year-old in these games. So maybe, because like they were advertising in this direct that, yeah, even adults play Pokemon. So maybe if you can be like, you know, like in your late teens or your early 20s or something like that, I think that would go a decent way of making it stand out more.
I think that if they took sort of the black and white approach to the story
Yeah.
and made it more compelling.
Yeah, that was my favorite Pokemon story.
Yeah. Because it was different. It had never been done before.
I mean, I've only played the game once, but I barely remember anything about it at all, except there was a Getzius guy, and there was
You
an
always
N
disappoint
guy.
me every day, every night, every afternoon. I say it and I say it again.
Spyro Heroes Tale is a
Exo
bad
Paradigm
game.
Gamer
Anyways.
is a mess. Exo Paradigm Gamer is a big, fat mistake. I say it every day, and I mean it. You are the weakest candidate by far. I'm sorry.
Weakest
No, but-
candidate for what?
And just anything.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Donald Trump. He's the weakest candidate for anything.
Politics.
Anyways, what I'm going to say is that X and Y was about like the ethics of training Pokemon and battling them. And
You mean
another
black and
interesting what?
You said X and Y.
Oh,
Did you
I
mean
meant
black
black
and
and white. My bad. Yeah. And I also enjoyed Pokemon Coliseum Story, and that's probably my favorite Pokemon game because it was different. You could capture like other trainers' Pokemon, and then there was a plot point revolving around that and everything.
See,
So it was interesting.
The only thing about Coliseum, though, is that that's the, like, as far as I know, that was the only way to get Pokemon. Like, you can't just go out in the wild and find your own.
I didn't really mind that, though.
You just had to do the shadow Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
You just had
Yeah.
to catch those.
Yeah,
I didn't mind that, though, to be honest.
I mean, I didn't mind it either. It's just it kind of nerfs the selection that you have.
it does.
Yeah.
and-
Because there's still a lot of them, but
I think that kind of takes away the point, though. It's like,
I mean-
that's fine that you can capture other people's Pokemon, but, like, at
I'm
least
gonna-
put a little bit out there for us to catch, you know?
I'm gonna propose an idea for Pokemon to make it great again. So, what I would like to see is a story
We need
where
to build
you
a
start
wall.
out. What?
We need to build a wall to keep the inferior Pokemon out.
To keep the Zubats out.
Get rid of the Magikarp.
I'm
Those
pretty
filthy
sure they're all
Magikarps are
rapists,
destroying our jobs and whatnot.
and they're all all Pokemon.
need our blood.
Okay, you went too far just now, Inox.
I'm just quoting our great leader Donald Trump. Trump 2016. This podcast has been endorsed by Donald J. Trump. That's
We're
okay.
rolling in money!
All right. Anyways,
Oh,
so what I
you
want,
might say we played our trump card just now.
Oh!
you know,
Gave us a
so
small
get out
loan
of here
of
with
$1
that
million.
language of yours. Anyways, what I want is a story where you start out as a member of the rival team and you're just like a random grunt. But then you get to choose from a bunch of Pokemon, and it's not the traditional fire, grass, and water.
Blue.
It's like dark, fighting, and flying. Yeah, that would work. Or something else so they all balance each other out. There would be something. But, so you would get like a Pokemon like that, and then you would just venture out and just do their dirty work, but then you also have to take over gyms, so you're getting gym badges, but you're taking over gyms in like this city and stuff, and then after that, like you realize they're bad, and then that's when you try to go get gym badges peacefully, and then you go to the Elite Four, and then you stop them and all that jazz.
You know what this sounds like, though? It sounds a lot like Fire Emblem Fates. Where
Yeah,
it's
I was
sounds a
about
lot
to
like,
mention, except you don't
Sounds
really.
a lot like Star Wars: The Force Unleashed.
I was going to mention that as well.
Yeah,
that sounds
that-
more.
yeah,
apt
But,
to
it is an
Fates.
interesting story, though. I will give you that,
Yeah.
Haydox. Like, that is
Yeah.
something I think would be very... That would be an interesting plot for a Pokemon
I've
game.
always wanted to be a part of Team Rocket, like in a Pokemon game.
Or Team...
They're like the least competent Pokemon team in the
I
series.
know, but it's just a cool
But
thing
you
because
can
you
make
got a
Team
big
Rocket
R.
great again.
That's true.
Or, just either, like, an already existing team like Aqua or Magma, or, a completely new team.
Team Maxi from Team Magma.
See, the problem is, from the screenshots we've seen, it doesn't look like it's gonna be that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you can
It just
see
looks like they're
drawings of
making a new gen,
characters
yeah.
and everything. And it's like, come on.
But
They're probably just going to go with a whole song and dance and have one new gimmick, and then that'll be that.
Yeah.
Probably.
And we're probably gonna get shit on for saying that, because how dare you criticize everything?
I buy Pokemon every year it's released, and I still love it. But I mean, I cannot argue that they innovate a whole lot.
Yeah.
So,
They add a lot of
too.
new features, but they don't really try to do anything to shake up
like,
the
I think
formula.
the most groundbreaking thing they've done in recent memory is Mega Evolutions, and then even then, it's not that.
No,
And
you
then
can
the
pet
3D
your
modeling was
Pokemon.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you can pet your Pokemon. That is the most innovative thing they
Yo,
have
that's
ever
so
done.
sick, man. Even though they ripped it off from Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance.
Very true. Very true.
No, they seriously did.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can pet like the little Dream Eaters in that game. Yeah.
It's amazing.
You can pet your Riku.
Yeah, you
Just
can.
like your Dream Eaters.
I'd
That's
like
a
to do
spoiler.
that. Delicious.
Just like in Fire Emblem Fates, right?
But
No,
it's
not
just-
anymore. Not after the war. Da, da.
Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
War never changes.
Nanomachines, son.
Oh, yeah. The Metal Gear Rising references.
So
But just getting back to what King K was asking me, what would I change? Honestly, I have no idea. It just feels like the same thing over and over to me, and it just really, like, I was able to sort of force myself to finish X and Y, but even though Omega Ruby was like the remake of the first Pokemon game I ever played, it could not hold my attention after the third gym, and I just dropped it and never went back to it. It's just like I'm Pokemon'd out. I have no idea what they could change, but I don't know, it seems like a lot of people still really like Pokemon anyway, even if it is stagnant.
I have an idea.
So-
I do.
Now that I just kind of thought about this. Like, what if, like, the typical Pokemon quest where you're going after the 8 gyms and becoming the Pokemon champion. Ooh, excuse me. What if that's a side quest, like, or a second campaign, and your first campaign is you taking out the criminal organization, and since you have you don't have to worry about the 8 badges or whatever, because that's something you can do optionally. You can focus more on this criminal
Well,
organization and
aren't
actually play the
badges-
story.
How the hell would they
Don't
balance
badges
that?
double as, like, don't you have to have certain badges to use certain HMs and train certain levels of traded Pokemon and stuff?
I think it's only for the traded Pokemon, but I mean they can still work around it. Like
You
there
do
are
need
ways,
gym badges to use certain HMs, but
Yeah.
they could always just change that.
or they can always
Is
not
that-
have HMs be a thing.
Yeah, I don't think HMs are necessary personally, but
Yeah.
they'll probably still keep them for some reason.
Apparently, in the original idea for that was that they were going to give you like a tool belt, and like you could get certain tools that will allow you to surf or to cut trees or to
See,
break
that makes more
rocks and
sense,
stuff.
and it doesn't take up a spot in your move list.
Yep.
Yeah,
So I don't know why they didn't do that.
I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I agree because it's just like, but it's just surf is a great HM and it's great in battle and stuff. But other than that, most of them are they're okay.
I always use Flash. Flash is the most useful move, and I always have it on me at all points. I always have one of my Pokemon no Flash because it is so good. Best move.
Best move.
But yeah, I think there's ways around it. Maybe if you get up to a certain point, you'll get a notification saying, "Hey, you can now use trade Pokemon that are up to level 20 or up to level 30 or whatever." Like when you get to certain parts of the story, or when you fulfill certain prerequisites. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not no game designer.
I ain't none of one.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I
do
think-
you want to like maybe take a short break and then move on to questions?
Sure, let's do that.
All right. Well, we've kind of Pokemoned ourselves out now. I'm gonna answer some questions. If you want to ask a question in the future, you can leave it in the comment section below. Hashtag make Pokemon great again.
Yeah, it's hashtag #AskUnversedCast.
You can do that either on the comment section or on Twitter, if I remember right.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
All right, so we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with questions, gentles and ladiesmen.
Woo!
Greetings and welcome back, gentles and ladiesmen, to more of the first official episode of Unversed Cast. I'm Paradigm Gamer.
I'm Haydox.
I'm King K.
And I am Ryan.
And to wrap up this first episode, after our break, we have decided to take a look at the questions that you, the viewers, have asked us under the hashtag #AskUnversedCast. So if you're on Twitter, or even if you want to just leave something in the comments, you can do that. Just make sure you put that hashtag in there, and maybe we'll get to it. Maybe we won't. So I guess the first question we have here, I have the hashtag opened on Twitter right now.
Okay.
So we have a question from Daniel Martinez, who asks, what are the 3 biggest issues regarding the gaming industry and how they could be countered?
Oh no.
Do you want that in MLA or APA?
Yeah, it's a pretty big question, but
Do you
I
maybe
think-
we can all go around in a circle and describe it.
okay, we could just describe what we think is the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that should work.
All right, I'll go first. I think one of the biggest issues in the game.
Everything okay?
So I thought my mic just dropped for a second. Oh gosh. All right. Anyways,
Haydox just did a mic drop just now.
yeah,
Gaming gods are preventing you from speaking out.
one of the biggest issues is that Sonic sucks. It's absolutely awful. Like there hasn't been a good Sonic game since, I don't know, the Genesis days. Like
No, even
Classic
those weren't
Sonic.
any good.
nah, Sonic was never good, honestly. So that's number 1. Number 2, it's gotta be the lack of man-ass in video games. Like,
Now listen, we've got Metal Gear Solid 4.
I know, and Metal Gear Solid 5, and 3, and 2.
And Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've kind of got that solved, but I'd like a little more. So number 1, coming in at number 1, it's gotta be the lack of effort and how games are released unfinished and without patches.
Mm-hmm.
For real.
Or rather that they're released unfinished and then they use patches to
Yes.
fix them later. Just because the chart says that if we release it on this month, it will sell better.
See, now I would
It's
be
just bring
Release
up
your
Street
games
Fighter
when they're
5.
finished, okay? Please.
see because Splatoon did that, and Street Fighter 5, from what I hear, is doing that as well.
Well, Street Fighter 5 did it worse,
Right.
in my opinion.
I'm not saying one is,
But it's the same principle.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
well, they
something?
didn't. Their servers didn't work on day one either.
I wouldn't be so peeved by this if they didn't charge you full price.
Yeah.
If they charge you
I'm with you
maybe,
there.
I would say at most $40 at the most. Then sure, because at least you're getting free content along the way. But don't charge me full price for a game that's not even completed. Don't do that.
Yeah, for me, I think they should at least be open that, like, because if you release something like Street Fighter 5, it's like, this is lacking content and it's coming in like March, because they weren't as transparent until it came out that this isn't the full game yet. They just released it. This is Street Fighter 5, and like a lot of people are just going to be like, oh, Street Fighter 5. Well, that sounds like the next installment in the Street Fighter franchise. Why is there nothing in here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So, I guess we'll go to you next, King K. What do you think is the biggest problem facing the gaming industry?
There are so many, and the one that annoys me because I wouldn't say this is a gigantic problem that affects everyone, but I'm very sick of PC ports being slapdash because I use PCs like my main platform. When there's nothing, like if I can't get something on a PC, I'll play it on console, but I will usually buy it on PC. And when there's a game that I really like that's coming out on PC and I know like, oh cool, I can get best graphical fidelity on it, like I can push my system to the max, and it has a shitty port. Like they released Tales of Symphonia on Steam and it's a shitty port of Tales of Symphonia.
Wait, what's wrong with it?
I think it's locked at 30 and it has launch issues. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know that it's not good.
Oh.
Especially like compared to the GameCube one.
I'm one of those plebeians that can barely tell the difference between 30 and 60. So
Yeah,
that's not something
usually
I care
I
about.
can't either. Like when you put them side by side, I can. But
Yeah.
I still, I'm like, I do hold 60 to a higher standard because it does make a difference. I went from Dark Souls to Dark Souls 2 and I noticed like right away that Dark Souls 2 was 60 and that Dark Souls wasn't. It was very clear to me, and I like that smoother play, even though it's harder for me to notice like long term. But at least get it working. Like don't have another Arkham Knight situation all over again with your... Oh god, but hopefully the Steam refund system will help. But it seems like people are still releasing shitty ports anyway, and it's just so jarring why the publishers think they can get away with it.
Well, they can because people buy it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's another problem. Stop buying shitty PC ports because you think you're supporting them. Like the one... I think the reason it keeps happening is because people keep buying like Tales of Symphonia. People want to support Tales of games being on PC, but you don't do that by buying a shitty port because then the quality standard that you're accepting is a shitty PC port. Like when you don't buy Tales of Symphonia on PC, you're not saying I will not buy Tales of Symphonia or Tales of games on PC. You're saying this is a shitty port, so I'm not going to buy it. So I think there's a disconnect there. Don't support bad ports is what I'm saying, because I really don't like that issue. It's not the biggest issue, but it was one I felt is worth noting and not a ton of people talk about, especially if they don't use PC, because it won't really affect them. But
I think my brother would agree with you, because he's mainly a PC gamer too. So, yep. Ryan, what about you? What do you think is the biggest issue?
Well, I'm still trying to figure that out. Did you say yours already, Michael?
I didn't.
Okay, so why don't you go if you already have an idea? Because I'm still trying to figure out what I want to say.
I think one of the biggest problems is probably the overabundance of day one DLC and pre-order bonuses and all that stupid unnecessary shit. Or, especially on disc DLC where it's just like, oh yeah, the content that you're paying extra money for is still on the disc that you bought for $60, but you got to go through a paywall to get it. And it's just, DLC, when it actually adds something substantial and interesting, is cool and all, but it's just, I'm paying $60 for this game. That's a lot of money. Well, it's not a small amount of money, It's a decent amount of money. So it's just like, I better damn well get my money's worth. And it's, I don't know. I think maybe Smash did it pretty well, where, like, first of all, it was free. Well, some of it was free. Much of it was free. And it was stuff that felt substantial.
Yeah. Like
and
new characters and stuff.
Well, you had to buy new
it
characters.
didn't feel like, oh yeah, we're gonna make like a bunch of, we're gonna like take the levels that were already, or the like the parts of the game that were already there and just slightly remix them and then sell it back to you for like $5. Like the DLC for Sonic 06 is like a good example of like DLC that doesn't need to exist. It's just like Team Attack Amigo. Who wants that? What's the point of that? You could have used that development time to like patch the game or something, but instead you decide, you know what would be great is if we took all the shitty side characters that nobody likes and made you play as them all back to back. It's just the whole DLC, that, because like the reason that they do all that stuff is because it's getting more and more expensive to develop games nowadays, because they're so much more bigger and more complicated than they used to be. And so if they want to break even and if they want to make a profit, they've got to put all this extra shit out there, Yeah. And it's, after a while, it just feels like, I feel like that's part of the problem with, this releasing unfinished games and patching them later, is because, people keep buying these pre-orders and day one DLC, even though the game isn't finished or playable on day one. So they still make a profit at the beginning, and then by the time they patch it, by the time people start getting around to, really, they make that initial profit and then they patch it later and then everything's fine. They still make money, is what I'm saying. And, it just feels like the publishers in particular don't care about whether the games are finished, functional products anymore. Most of the time they are, and there are cases where developers will push stuff back, like with Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze and Star Fox U. But for the most part, and Uncharted 4, that's another one where they pushed it back. But it just seems like a lot of the third-party publishers, like, especially Ubisoft, like, just don't care anymore because they still make money, so why care?
Yeah. It's a big business aspect of it that I don't like too much. I mean, it is a reality. They are a business. They are businesses, so they have to make their money. It's just kind of sad to see it happening to this extent now, because it's harder to make games.
Yeah. So, do you have anything you can add, Ryan? Or should we move on?
I mean, you guys really hit the nail on the head, but I think for me, it's the fact that, for some people, it's just, video games aren't just, to have fun, but it's also to push your politics and whatnot. It's like they're trying to make video games be more than just enjoying a game. They're trying to put all this controversy and, oh, if you like this game, then how dare you like this game? People get shamed for liking certain games. It's like, oh, if you like Sonic, then you're a furry. If you like the new Fire Emblem, you're a waifu otaku person. Or they try to find things to be offended at, or it's just play the game, and if you don't like what you see, then don't buy it. Games aren't supposed to be so controversial, or they're not supposed to spark these huge debates about ethics and morals and whatnot. They're supposed to be a form of escapism, and when you try to make it more than just that, you try to complicate things, it kind of defeats the purpose, because I play games so I can escape all of this, all the politics and all the drama and all that kind of stuff. When you try bringing that in, I start to get a bit upset. That's my biggest peeve with the game industry.
I can agree with that. because I use them for escape.
Yeah.
That's why I love games. So I don't know why all this stuff needs to be injected all the time. It's just it feels a bit too much sometimes. Some of it's warranted, but I feel like it could be a bit lighter.
That's my thing, is that, just play games to enjoy them. Don't try to, say something is offensive because, when there's nothing to be offended by. I'm not saying there isn't offensive stuff in games. Lord, no, there is, but, don't say Mario's offensive because friggin' you step on turtles or whatever, and you have a pet turtle and it triggers you or whatever. Don't give me that.
Okay. So I think with that, we'll move on to a new question. So Jay's Reviews asks, when is Alec the side quest gamer going to appear? Ruined forever. In all seriousness, though, what do you guys think of Metal Gear Solid 2?
Never played it.
It's okay.
It was the only Metal Gear game that I played. I returned it. I don't know. Metal Gear isn't my cup of tea, personally.
I think MGS2 is not really the best the series has to offer. Because I feel like in some ways it's an improvement over the first one, but it kind of has a little Kingdom Hearts 2 syndrome to it, where it feels like it has to be so much like the first one that it kind of holds itself back. Because, there's a plot reason for why. Because I don't know, if you guys have seen Johnny's review in the plot summary, then you basically know that it's number by number the same story as the first game, except it's the way it is because it's a training simulation or something like that. It makes no sense. It's stupid. And I don't know, there's some things about it that it's better. I like that there's more emphasis on stealth. I like that the enemies are a little smarter. I like that you have first person aiming. But it's just the big shell isn't an interesting setting for a game, really. And the plot, honestly, where I got really interested in it was when it started getting so batshit, because then it actually, stimulated my mind a little more. But at the same, it was kind of bittersweet, because on one hand, I kind of really liked it because it was interesting and, caught me off guard. But at the same time, it was just this is so complicated that I could barely follow what's going on, And I don't know, it's mixed. I hear that Metal Gear Solid 2 is Hideo Kojima's favorite one.
Really?
And I guess he's proud of the story he told, but I can barely understand it. So
that's me with every Metal Gear game.
Yeah, but something like Metal Gear Solid 1 or 3 is a lot easier to understand than Metal Gear Solid 2.
Mm-hmm. 3
and
is
it's just
my
you gotta
favorite,
understand that
so,
I'm one of those people who went in to see Inception by Christopher Nolan and got the whole movie. Everybody else is just this is so confusing, I don't get it. And I thought it made perfect sense. And I can barely understand what's going on in Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
So that should tell you what that game's story is like.
Yeah, I've only played one. It's literally an odd situation with me and Metal Gear Solid, because I've only played 1, 3, and 5. So I guess I'm just racist against even numbers for some reason. But
how dare you?
3 was my favorite because it didn't require you knowing a whole shit ton about anything. It just sort of told its own story, and I really loved that about it. And
I appreciated that too. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's just use CQC for everything, and the game never tells you how to use the CQC. So it's just I'm fighting the final boss, and it's just use CQC on the final boss, and it's just you never fucking taught me how to use it. So now I'm stuck here, and I've just got to sort of, do this war of attrition and hope I win. And it was
I just shot rockets at the final boss the entire time because I had no idea how to do anything.
Yeah. And it's just I tried, because my friend Ethan was playing that recently, and he was on the final boss, and he's just how do I beat it? And it's just I'm looking up the CQC controls, and it's just rotate the control stick and press the circle button to block them, and it doesn't work. And it's just every time you try to grab someone, you slit their throat, and it's just there really should have been a tutorial,
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's the worst thing I could say about MGS3. So The next question comes from Ben Maddie, and he asks, favorite games of all time?
Oh boy.
So one thing before that, this might have to be our last question for now, since I have to get going after this, I think. Is that okay? Just
Sure. If you
All
gotta get going, then we can wrap things up after this one.
yeah. Anyways, I'll start. And my favorite game is Spyro: A Hero's Tale.
Okay.
Didn't you say it was?
Interesting choice.
Didn't you say it was Ori and the Blind Forest not too long ago?
Yeah, that's actually what it is.
Oh. See, I
Next
knew
to
I
Star
paid attention.
Fox Adventures.
Okay, listen. You can call that game okay, you can call it mediocre, but if you think that's the best game you've played, then you need to play more games, my
You're
friend.
lost. You're lost.
Oh, what a lovely sweetie!
I feel
Press
that.
up
that
on the
was-
control stick, and you can stroke my big rock dick.
Oh god.
Damn, dude.
General Scales captured me when I tried to fly away from his galleon. Now we're going to fly around this tower and shoot miniature towers so you can fight the boss.
I'm loving your adventures playthrough, by the way.
General Scales!
You could single-handedly voice act a remake of Star Fox Adventures.
That should
Which is
tell
totally
you
in the works.
how half-assed the voice acting is, though, because I'm just doing silly, stupid voices right now, but that's what the voice acting in that game sounds like. It's just like, Fox, you're always shooting before you ask questions. That's why you can't use your blaster on the planet.
But I want
Try
to use my
using
blaster.
your head. Why can't I bring my blaster?
You know what they say? All toast is toast.
I really need to play that game.
No, you don't.
Yeah, don't.
Curiosity, man. I need to see what that game is.
It's mediocre at best. It's not the worst, but it is nowhere near like a GameCube classic, like some people will tell you. Not many people, but I have heard people say that, and I'm just like, have you played this game? But anyway, what's... I know what your favorite game is, King K, but why don't you enlighten the audience?
So I know. Okay, I have a very complicated situation in my head because my favorite game kind of cycles between three, but it's always consistently these three games until
Okay.
recently when Undertale came and like overtook something. So it used to be. I don't know why. This is a very strange coincidence because they all have the number 2 in them. It used to be Klonoa 2, SA 2, and Kingdom Hearts 2. And those are my 3, and it would always cycle just depending on my mood, because I cannot pick a favorite from those.
SA2?
But,
What's Sonic Adventure 2, is that what you mean?
yeah,
Okay,
Sonic
okay.
Adventure 2. But recently, I struck such a chord with Undertale that I just kind of replaced it with SA2, because my love for SA2 is pretty great, but I think it's diminished over the years just a little bit. But I used to really love it. So now it sort of cycles between Kingdom Hearts 2, because I was playing that recently, and I'm like, I still fucking love this game to death. And Klonoa 2, I will always love, and I will always be sad that I will probably never get another game. But then Undertale came in, and I love everything that Undertale did, so it's just those 3, and I can never decide. If I really had to decide, I'd probably say Klonoa 2, probably. Because that was my mainstay favorite for a long time, and I don't think it's ever changing. Even though I love Undertale to death, it's hard to pick. I fluctuate a lot.
Okay. What about you, Ryan?
Oh, I think we all know what my favorite game is.
This
It's,
is the second review on his
it's actually...
second review on his channel.
Yep, it's Majora's Mask. I know a lot of people think it's Golden Sun, but it's not. It's up there. It's way up there. But no, my favorite game ever made is kind of cliched at this point. But you know what? It's Majora's Mask. It always has been, always will be. I love that game to death.
Yeah, I hadn't played it until the 3D, but when I played it on 3DS, it was really, really good. I love it. It's one
It's
of
a
my favorite
great-
3D Zeldas.
It's a fantastic port. Something about the original, though, I just prefer, but it's probably just nostalgia. I'm perfectly willing to just say I prefer the N64 version just because of nostalgia, because the 3DS version is so good.
Well, one thing it does have going for it is it does have double the resolution of the 3DS game, because the 3DS game is 240p, and the original Majora's Mask was actually 480i, because of the expansion module thing.
Yep.
Allowed it to have the same resolution as 6th gen systems. But other than that, I just think the graphics actually look better overall, because the models look better and the textures look better.
Yeah.
But anyway, both versions are perfectly fine.
Every time I play that game, I have to 100% complete it. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's always 100% completion.
Yeah. Well, the game's sort of designed to prioritize you doing side quests and stuff, so...
Yeah.
My favorite game... it's I guess if I had to pick, like, what's the one game you would bring with you to a deserted island that you could play over and over again and never get sick of it, it'd probably be Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest. Just because, like, that game is just so great at everything it tries to do, and it's so replayable.
By the way, I'm doing a Let's Play of it on Game Mavericks right now. Just wink, wink.
Hey,
By the way,
Okay.
Donkey Kong Country is better than Donkey Kong Country 2.
Yeah, you keep believing that, you Philistine.
damn, dude.
But I have, like, a lot of other games that I really like. Like, if there was one game that I thought was just blows me the fuck away, that is just, like, so impressive for what it's trying to do, and it would probably be Super Mario Galaxy 2. It's just the great colorful graphics, the fantastic soundtrack, the great bosses, just how much content they were able to cram into one little Wii game. It was just amazing what they were able to do with that. And I didn't used to think that. I used to be one of those people, reactionaries, that thought the first game was better. But when I replayed them again, I realized just how much better Galaxy 2 really is. And it's a shame that so many people write it off as, inferior just because it has a 2 on it. So therefore it's a rehash,
I heard some people say that, like, a lot of the extra content is fluff. Like, oh, you have to go through this stage and collect, X amount of purple coins, or no, you have to do it in a certain time limit.
I think having to do several stars in one stage, like Galaxy 1 does, is more like fluff than anything Galaxy 2 does.
I wouldn't know, though, because, I still haven't played either DKC 2 or Mario Galaxy 2, but they're still on my priority list, but, they do look like really good games, and I would like to try them.
Then there are a bunch of other smaller games, like I don't know where I'd rank them, like Ratchet & Clank 3, Spyro 3, Paper Mario, probably Twilight Princess is in there somewhere.
Woo! Glad to see more people like Twilight Princess.
I love Twilight Princess.
Woo!
Yeah. Our baby boy Haydox thinks it's the worst game of all time.
How
The worst
dare
Zelda
you?
game by far.
How dare you?
Oh no.
I'm greatly offended, good sir.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that more or less wraps up my answer to that question. So I think, like Haydox said, we're probably going to have to cut things off for now. Thank you for your questions. Please remember to use hashtag AskUnversedCast, and maybe we'll get to you next time. We'll see what happens, but... Anyways, thank you for joining us for the second episode of Unversed. And I guess we'll see you guys next time.
Bye!
Alright, bye.
Bye!
Trump.
Alright. Well,